All right, 8.6 is about geometric and arithmetic sequences, okay? So geometric is if you multiply, oh boy. And arithmetic is if you add, okay? And that's how you know the difference. Geometric, multiply, arithmetic, add, okay? So if it says to find the common ratio, that just means what do you do to get from one to the other? So to get from 3 to 12, we multiply. Oh, this is supposed to say 48. Whoops. 3 to 12, we multiply by 4. 12 to 48, we multiply by 4. 48 to 192, we multiply by 4. So the common ratio is 4. Okay? Now, if we're going from 80 to 20, okay, you can say, well, you're dividing by 4. 20, you're dividing by 4, but they want it in terms of multiplication. Okay, well, the opposite of dividing by 4, or the same thing as dividing by 4, is multiplying by 1/4. Okay, so you would say the common ratio is 1/4, because it has to be in terms of multiplication. All right. Okay, next one. Find the next 3 terms. Okay, well, to get from 2 to -6, so you're either multiplying by something or adding something. So this is x times -3. I'm sorry, x times 2 times -3. This would be 6 times -3, and so on. So you're multiplying by -3. So you have to do -54 times -3, which is positive 162. And then you take 162 by -3, and you get -486. Then you take -486 and multiply by -3, and you should get positive 1458. Okay, so that's if you have the next, if you need to find the next three terms. Okay, so same here on number 4. So -7 to -5, I'm not sure what you would multiply, but you can add 2 to get that. It has to be the same for all of them. And so we're adding 2. So if we keep going and we add 2, so we have -1, whoops, -1 plus 2 is 1. And then we have 1 plus 2, which is 3. And 3 plus 2, which is 5. So our next 3 numbers would be 1, 3, and 5. Okay, now, to make it a little harder, geometric sequence rule is this formula right here. And all of these things stand for certain things, okay? So the A is the first term. The R is the common ratio. And the N is the number, is the nth term. The number, well, let's just say number of terms. So if it says the 5th term or whatever, the 5th number. Okay, so in order to use that, we would give you the formula and say find the 1st, 5th, and, so say and, 10th term. So you would say A to the first. So 5 times -2, so you just plug in 1 for the N, okay? Well, this becomes, well, 1 minus 1, so this becomes to the 0 power. And you remember you have to do your exponents first before you multiply. So this becomes 5 times 1, so that's 5. Okay, so the first term is 5. And then the 5th term, you would do 5 minus 1. So 5 to the -2 to the 4th. Right? And so this would be 5 times, okay, well, -2 to the 4th, you can put that in your calculator. Make sure you put it in parentheses because you should get a even number. I mean a positive number. 2 times -2 times -2 times -2, because that's positive 4, positive 16. Okay? And then 5 times 16 is 80. Okay, make sure you do your exponent first. So that would be your 5th term. And then your 10th term is the same thing, but you put a 10 up there. So 5 to the negative 2 to the 9th. Okay, so negative 2 to the 9th is 512. Negative 512, because it's to the 9th, which is an odd number. Negative 512 times 5 is negative 2,560. So this rule helps us when we need to find a bigger term, like the 100th term or the 10th term or the 1,000th term or something. Instead of doing it by hand, you can just put it in this formula. Okay? I think the last one is the same thing. It's just written out in words instead of in the formula. What is the 10th term when the first term is negative 6 and the common ratio is 2? Okay, so we want to know the 10th term, so that would be there. Okay, and then our formula, so our first term is what goes right here, and then we multiply that by the common ratio, and we want the 10th term, and it's always minus 1 up there. Okay, so a to the 10th is negative 6, 2 to the 9th. So negative 6, and then 2 to the 9th is 512. And then negative 6 times 512 is negative 3,072. So it's saying that 10th term in this sequence is negative 3,072. Okay? And that is it.